The greatest Jewish minds alive today, Rabbi Aaron Lichtenstein. He's a Rosh Yeshiva. He's the head of a very large modern Orthodox yeshiva in Israel. He is the son-in-law of Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik. Joseph B. Soloveitchik, who might have studied and read some of his books. He has a PhD in literature from Harvard. He's a phenomenal brain, and he lives in Israel. He comes here usually once or twice a year and gives public lectures. Anyone who understands is welcome to go. He's a very humble man, and this is taken from a talk that he gave in 1984. Neither of us were present at the talk, but he's speaking about Purim in 1984. Anyone want to read? Thank you.
I myself tremble anew each time I reach this verse, and Mordecai said to reply to Esther, "Do not imagine that you will escape in the king's palace from among all the Jews." What a biting accusation. Someone who really cares, someone whose consciousness is deeply rooted in the collective experience of Am Yisrael, someone whose destiny is bound up with that of the nation, disregards any consideration of danger or possible danger on the part of the king. In fact, such a person doesn't even have to disregard these thoughts. They don't even enter her mind. Such considerations arise, whether consciously or subconsciously, out of a perception that everyone else may perish, but I will manage to save my own skin. She is being asked a fatal question. Do you care or do you not care? We are all, to some degree, Esther. Each of us bears a crown on our head. Each of us is the Queen Esther. My creatures are drowning in the sea, a sea of assimilation, a sea of ignorance, a sea of alienation from Knesset Yisrael, a sea of disconnection from roots. And you, who are capable of moving the carriage out of the mud, you who could lend a hand, you who could uplift the nation, you who could be inculcating values, you offer song? This is the real question. If you understand the situation, and there is no reason or excuse not to, then you hear the cry that emanates from every part of the country, from every corner of the globe, expressed in the spiritual dangers surrounding us and threatening us on every side. This is the real question we must all ask ourselves when the time comes. When we could have saved, did we?
Thank you.
What's the song?
Oh, meaning you offer song, meaning you don't
Just-
you don't right, exactly. You
Don't
don't
take
you
it
don't
seriously.
offer extend a hand to help. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's a very interesting approach that Rabbi Lichtenstein is taking. That and he's looking at to Esther, because this actually happens in the fourth chapter of the story. We see a transition happen to Esther herself. She's this very passive, whatever Mordecai says she does. She's almost like a pawn for Mordecai. And at this point in the story, we see everything transition, and she literally becomes the queen in the game of chess, right? So she's so she literally like turns, and all of a sudden she's really director. She's orchestrating everything that happens from here on in. But until this point, she's this like passive. I can't go to the inner courtyard. She's really playing this this almost like victimized role. And Mordecai says to her, "That's fine. If you can't step up and do it, you're gonna die, the same way everybody else will. You're not safe just because you're in the palace." And that's one of the ideas also that Rabbi Lichtenstein layers onto this story, and perhaps going back again to Maimonides, the importance of this story is that it reminds us that we need to take action when action needs to be taken, and that you can't stand and look at the world around you and say, "Okay, it's fine," and then sit back and relax. That we need to be engaged. We need to be part of something. We need to be able to extend a hand, when a hand is needed. And again, going back to that question, what we could have saved, did we? And obviously, we're not talking about, drowning. Obviously, if you see somebody, that's always the go-to example. If you see somebody drowning, you go in and help them. But that when we're aware of the world around us, how are we really extending a hand to save when we can? Or do we think like, thank God that's not me? Like, is that our first reaction when we see something bad that happens, or when we to distance yourself, or or just saying like, that stinks for him. So like very often that's our reaction, and you're like, well, maybe I can actually do something to help. So again, layering on that there is a timeless aspect to the message of Purim, that we all need to somehow embody these attributes of Esther, that even if it's not in our nature to step up to the challenge, that we need to force ourselves sometimes to step up and do what needs to be done.
As we all experience together the holiday of Purim on Saturday night and Sunday, or certainly we should end on a lighter note, which is, I hope no one is scared to come and celebrate with us. There'll be lots of
Very
fun.
solemn day.
There'll be lots of cheer, but hopefully at some point during the Purim experience you can really just take a pause, look around you, and be able to internalize some of these deeper ideas and messages that are found within the holiday. Any questions on any of the customs, the obligations, the commandments, or the message?
What exactly is the fast? Sorry.
When is the fast? Fast is this coming Thursday, 2 days time, beginning in the morning. It doesn't begin the nightfall before, means that when the sun rises in the morning until sunset. And the times are on the KJ website, or I can email them to everybody. There are actually specific times when the fast ends and starts. Fasting includes no food or drink.
And the intermediate service is taking place where?
On Saturday or
Yes, Saturday.
Saturday night? In this building, on the second floor, Saturday night, 8 p.m. All are invited for the Megillah reading with some hors d'oeuvres and l'chaims.
That's at the Bentley afterwards.
And then afterwards, there is a open house at the Bentley Hotel on the rooftop for about 300 people. We're expecting open bar, open food, and all the reservations are online. And please, if you plan on attending that, certainly do RSVP in advance. So here's a handout, those that wish, just a quick summary to take away of the holiday, of the customs, and some information. It would be remiss of me not to mention, immediately following Purim is Pesach. But before we get to Pesach, we have one other holiday on the calendar. I don't know what it is.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Between Purim and Pesach, there's another holiday on the Jewish calendar of KJ. Shabbat across America. Which is an opportunity to all of us experience Shabbat together. Please consider joining us. We're hoping for 500 people to experience the warmth and the beauty of Shabbat together. If you want to host a table, speak to either of us. Tables of 10, bring some friends. Lots of good times, dinner, $36 I think, and flowing wine, and some surprises as well. That's coming up in early March. Have a wonderful evening. Please reach out with any questions.
These readings are the same weight.
There are 3 ways to
Correct.
Okay. One, the eight.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go online and they take a lot.
Yeah. Do they have to?
Sunday, correct. Identical readings, it's just in front of you. I would take the 9:30.
Sleep in day. That's nap day.
Oh, so we can bring
Right. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.